In this video, what I want to do is start cleaning up the weapon classes like I mentioned in the previous one. So what I want to change is I do not really need a separate C++ class for every single weapon. Instead, we can simply do that strictly through Blueprint. And what I mean by that is having a specific class. So a class, we're obviously going to have the base, then having a class on top of that for semi-auto, full auto, shotgun. I guess we might end up adding some sort of like a bolt action or something like that. And then a special. So the special will be things like the ray gun or the Wonder Waffle. So in order to begin, I'm going to actually create a dedicated class to semi-autos. So what I'm going to do is on weapon base, I'm going to create a C++ class derived from it. Call this one weapon semi. Then I'm going to create a new folder under here. I'm just going to call it weapons. And yeah, create class. And we're going to pretty much be merging the 1911 class over to the weapon semi. So that way it's already, set up, good to go. And then we can, once we have it set up inside the engine, we can simply delete the 1911 class. Open the 1911. So laggy, 1911, then our weapon semi, and weapon semi. Okay. Let's go ahead and I guess begin with the constructor. So inside of a weapon semi, let's just do public section, the constructor, and then we need to include for our weapon semi. So that's going to be world at war, public, Nazi zombies, usables, weapons, and weapon semi.h. Yeah, it's quite long. And then we can begin. So let's go ahead and go to our header file for the 1911. And these are the only functions we have in it. I'm going to click and drag from our protected server fire override down to our reload function inside of weapon semi, like so. Then go over to the CPP, overwrite the reload. Hang on a second. Oh wait, derp. And just copy all the functions except for the constructor and paste them in here, like so. Then replace a weapon 1911 with a weapon semi. Now we need to set up the constructor. So weapon 1911, drag all the constructor related stuff into the constructor of the a weapon semi, and then the includes. So we're going to include debug helpers, world.h, and the skeletal mesh component, as well as zombie base and Nazi zombie character, like so. And then we can go ahead and compile. I actually want to change the weapon name to default name, just so I know, well, that it's hasn't been set yet, for example. So now we just wait for the compilation to finish. And then we will restart the engine and kind of merge everything over to weapon semi. Okay. So let's see, weapons, weapon semi. I'm gonna go ahead and create a blueprint class from it. So BP underscore weapon semi, and I'm gonna place it in weapons. So let's go to our weapons, and we have our 1911. So what I want to do is I want to take this weapon semi, Control W, drag it into 1911, take the weapon semi, and move it into M1 carbine. I'm going to delete blueprint 1911. See that it's being used. I'm just going to go ahead and delete or replace them, sorry. So blueprint classes, player, character base. We can leave starting weapon class for the character base is none. And for the Nazi zombie character, we can set the starting weapon class to, well, we're just going to set it as none as well for currently. And back to the 1911 folder, delete the 1911 blueprint class. Let's call this one BP underscore 1911. Let's give it a name of Colt 1911. Open it up. We're going to set the weapon mesh. So that's going to be obviously the 1911. Go to blueprint. Weapon ID is already set to 1911. You set the fire animation to 1911 fire. The FPS arms montage is animation montage arms 1911. And the reload animation to 1911 reload. And here we can give it a name. So I want to do, let's see, Colt 1911. And the damage here is already set to the default, which I use the default of values I found online for the 1911 World at War. So that's pretty much what's going to be used. So now we have this. And our BP Nazi Zombie character, set the starting weapon class to BP Colt 1911. And close both. And now we have the M1 carbine. So let's open up BP Weapon Semi. Let's actually rename it to BP. Actually, we already have one name there, so I'm going to delete the BP M1 carbine. Rename this to BP M1 carbine. Set the weapon mesh to the M1 carbine. Go to the directory, set the weapon ID to M1 carbine. Set the animation for the M1 carbine fire. We don't have a montage created yet, but we do have a reload. So M1 carbine reload. Give it a name of M1 carbine. And we'll set these values later. But for now, we can actually just set the base damage to, let's do 60. So we now have that set up. So we should be good to go. So we have a 1911, everything's playing properly. Let's just triple check to make sure. I'm going to set the starting weapon class to be the M1 carbine. And that's all good to go. Back to the pistol. And the only thing we need to fix now is the line trace. So if you look at the end when I shoot, the line trace is coming out of the root of the handgun. So if I shoot again, it's coming out of the pretty much literally the root. So let's go down to our weapons, 1911, mesh, and open up the skeleton. So it's coming out of here, out of the grip, and we need it to come out of the muzzle. So let's look here, weapon 1911.h, or no, weapon base.h. Go to our, actually no, 1911. Let's go to our fire. So here we should see, so we have perform line trace. So let's go to that perform line trace function inside of weapon base. So we need to create a socket called muzzle socket. So off the muzzle, I'm going to right click, add socket, and it's called muzzle socket. Obviously that could be scaled down a good bit. So I'm going to set the relative scale to 0.01 all across the board like so, and save it. And I'm going to open up the M1 carbine skeleton. Do the exact same thing. .01 and save. Now let's look. Shoot. It's coming out of the muzzle now, but it's coming straight to the left. So let's rotate it by 90 degrees. Save. And we're probably going to have to do the same thing with the M1 carbine. So we rotate it by 90 degrees. So it's going straight out the barrel, and save again. So now when we shoot, As you can see, the line trace is coming out of the muzzle. Now we can actually kill the zombies. So I want to confirm real quick with the M1 carbine class and give it a try. And I just realized, actually, yeah, it's still coming out. I need to make that animation, I need to make the action cycle faster. So one headshot, 4 to the chest. Yeah. So yeah, our weapons are working just like they were before, and that's what we wanted. So now that all of this is set up and out of the way, we can go ahead and delete our 1911 class. So to do that, we go ahead and close Unreal Engine, close down 1911.h and CPP. Let's find it in our Solution Explorer. So Weapon 1911, press delete, scroll down, and find Weapon 1911. This is the .h, and press delete. Then we go over here to our root, do the root of our project, go to source, name of the project, public, Nazi zombie, usables, Weapon 1911.h, delete that. And same thing for private, Weapon 1911.cpp, delete that. And then we go here to our binaries folder and delete that from our the root of our project. Then we can simply recompile. And once we do that, the uh, source, well, the class will be removed from our project. Give it a second. Or an hour. There we go. And now we should no longer have the Weapon 1911 class in our project at all. So Nazi zombie, usables, and it's gone. So now we just have weapon base and our weapon classes. And that's what we want. I would like weapon base to be inside of weapons, but that can be done, later on. That'll be just a very easy move, and I'm not too concerned about it because this isn't going to be cluttered up. Probably only going to have maybe a couple more things in here. So yeah, now that that's out of the way, I will see you in the next one where we continue setting up the animations for our weapons. So that way they are essentially quote unquote complete, well, animation complete. So I will see you in the next one.